Hi, welcome to Baskets by Jen. We're going to weave my best-selling basket ever. It's difficult to level 2 or 3, but there are some tricks I can help you with. This basket is what I call the between the door basket. It fits between the front door and the storm door. I've planted an ivy in June in this one, and I hung it outside in the summertime and brought it inside in the wintertime. Still hanging on the door. Makes a great gift. It's a living wreath. The other basket has my signature finish, which is a primitive finish or country. I also do a lovely farmhouse finish in a couple of colors. So let's get started. To start with, I have a 7 by 12 Williamsburg D handle. You can order those online. I also come in the kit that I sell. You need to find the center of your materials, and selecting your materials for this basket is one of your most important jobs. So you want to choose the most supple materials you have because you're going to bend them really small. This is a 5/8. I have 7 of them, and they are, actually I have 6. Now I have 7. They are cut at 15 inches long and pre-soaked for 10 or 15 minutes. The first thing I'm going to start weaving with is a 5/8. Very supple. I have that ready in my lap. There's a good side and a bad side to your materials. The good side tends to be really smooth, and the bad side can have some hairies. See little hairies? So we want the bad side in, or rough up. So let's find the center, and I don't always have a tape measure. So I gently fold a piece of material, find the center, and use that to mark all the others on the side. Now I use a pencil because if you're going to put any finish on it, a pen will stain and you can't finish over it. So here we have our centers marked. I want to start by putting 4 pieces down on my table. And if you have any pieces that have a little bit of a bow to them, see this has a slight bow to it, I point that to the outside so it isn't pointing towards the neighbors. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here comes the tricky part, and this is going to be tricky for a couple of minutes, but just bear with us. There are some things that make it easier. I want to put this right down on my center. Put it down, hold it tight. That left hand works really hard holding things down, the right now. Now I want to continue to hold it tight. Here we go. Bend these. Let's get these done before we start adding more pieces. It'll save us a little confusion in a minute. A nice smart bend. Don't be afraid to bend them because your basket is going to follow, your weaver is going to follow that line. So now I'm going to sneak this one in here. I'm spacing them equally. Every time you make a basket, if you keep your spacing equal, it really does help you see when you've made a mistake or if you're doing perfectly. So now we have all of these down. Now here comes the tricky part. We're going to bend these up, upset our spokes. So now that we have all of these upright and bent, I'm going to take a little different course than usual. I'm going to weave this one in. And I'm doing that first. It's nice and wet, so it won't shift on me. I'm going to weave this one in here. And that gives me something I can pin, hold on to, and now bend these. It's just a trick I learned years ago when I was producing a lot of these. I have produced somewhere over 7,000. I'm not sure how many exactly, but I know it's been a lot in 40 years. I've sold them with many different finishes on them, and they have been one of my most popular baskets because they're wreath shaped. They fit between the front door and the storm door, and everybody has a door or two. So let's finish here. Now we've got this, and this is holding it all together. So grab the piece and it's very important that you start the way I did so that your first piece comes inside, in here. That's going to help hold it all together. And I'm pushing everything down toward the table, and I lift what I want to go behind. I lift this up, go behind it. This hand over here, this hand is working really hard to hold everything in place until I get that first row on. If you've never made a basket before, I'll tell you now. The first 3 rows, the 3rd row holds everything together, but until then, baskets can be a mess. Just keep going and use your fingers. So stand this up right here. You can see what I've done. I've got the reed coming around. I'm going to use my snippers and cut this. I went over my beginning. This is called stop weaving. I went on top of the one I started with and then followed it along until I can hide the end. Now you won't see any ends, either the beginning end or the end of that piece. This would be a basket that's great with 8 arms. Well, maybe just 4. So what I do is simply flop it over. Just flop it down, hold it, and this is going to do what the first row did. It's going to hold this side together until we can get this job done. Here we are. Pulling things down, you always want to keep your rows pulled close to your bottom row, your base. Most baskets will have 2 or 3 pieces at the end, so it locks it all together, but not this guy. This guy only has a front and a back. That one on the end isn't helping much. Now you've got it here, and you're pretty stable. Flop it over. Just flip that thing, make adjustments, take the pin out as soon as it's not useful. And I'll tell you about those pins a little later. They're wonderful pins, and they're made by some really nice people here in America. This 5/8 is a little wide, and I say that because reed really comes in millimeters, and then they try to get as close to our measurements as they can. So sometimes it's a little wide, and sometimes it's a little narrow. There we are, keeping it all down. Now we have something. Flip it over, go back to ending right here, and here's where we started. We're gonna go 1, 2. Oh, we can 2 is fine. This basket isn't gonna haul potatoes. Nothing's gonna blow this side out. So there we go. And make sure you get this pushed in. And now, see, you can pick this thing up and nothing will happen to it. So if somebody's helping you weave them and you're good at the beginning, you can let somebody else do the following part. I always start a row on a different side because this makes a thick spot right here where you started. You don't want a lot of those, they'll push your beads up. So I start in a different location whenever I can. So I'm gonna start here. Say I start on this side and the other side and go through and make a little pouch in the middle. You need a really good weaver for this because it's such tight turns, and you need something that's going to be very cooperative. Now I'm going to do only a 2 overlap on these small wall baskets. Wall baskets are some of my best-selling baskets because everybody has doors and walls. There we go. This makes a great hostess gift. Take this to somebody's house, they'll send you home with an extra piece of pie. Now this one I'm going to do as I did years ago. I'm going to put color in it. My finishes are primitive, as I mentioned earlier, but this one I'm going to add some color. I want to make sure I've got my bad side in, and I'm going to lift up what I want to go behind right here, and I want to go behind this one, and flip it over, and go behind this one, and here, and over, and back it tight. Now you want to make sure that before you put on a color, which might run a little bit, and if you're afraid of that, just pull that piece of damp color through a paper towel and pull off excess. Here we are at our end. Snip it, tuck it, and then you can do any number of things. You could put a wide piece in here. Say you wanted to put a piece of wider color in here, a wider solid, so you could write your name on it. There is any number of things you can do. We're going to do a very simple, one of my favorites. One of the most popular is the chain. That's not my favorite. This is my favorite. Gives you a little different look. So here we go. Around. You do a lot of around. And if you make mistakes, it's usually on the corners. So you have to watch yourself when you go around a corner, because that you might pick up in the wrong place. That's the most common mistake. You see we got a little bit of a run here. This red's got a little bit on it. A dab of bleach on the white part, not your colored part, will take care of that. This is my favorite thing to do. It's two colors. This is my all-time favorite design. Here. Oops. Hey, look, I have a gap and I couldn't see it from where I'm sitting. So let's take care of that gap. This is called a bent tool. It's one of my favorite tools. There are others you can use. You can use an awl or a popsicle stick will do the same job. You just use it to pull your rows down, to pack them. I thought it was packing tight enough, but I'm looking at it from a different angle. When I held it upright, I realized, I had missed a few things. So there you have it. Oops, don't pull too hard. Give yourself a nice little spot there, because you have to put a rim around this thing. I've listened to some of the nicest books while weaving baskets. Things I wouldn't have sat down and read, because they don't sit still long enough. But books on tape or audio books are wonderful. It keeps you entertained and you can work longer. What do you think of that design? I'm really partial to it myself. Frames this center strip very nicely, and I've been known to use that center strip to put the family's name. If I'm giving this as a front door basket, possibly just put a piece over the top here, from here to here, and you have a space to write a name or a door apartment number, whatever you're looking for. Just wiggle it under here. Wasn't like made it too tight. It was nice if you do this when you're weaving before you get past, but it's okay. See here, we get it right. The Smiths, you know the Smiths, they're everywhere. There we go. See, we would have a nice paint surface. Let's do a couple more rows. This. Okay, this is getting kind of big if you wanted to put a plant in it, so we need to be done here soon. I'll show you what we do to be done. I like to put my rim just over the little pouch in the center. So I'm going to put a couple rows of quarter flat on there, just so I can stop weaving soon. This is a great basket to use up some scrap. Everybody has 1/4 inch flat scrap. And so using your short pieces for something like this is great. I usually try to lay this out a little better. I don't do this style very often, so that my top row would naturally, this wouldn't be coming around this little one, but we learn every time. Here, in order to put my rim on my pouch, I needed to have that row tucked in there. And this is the row that I'm going to put the rim over. Now for rims on this is not a big basket. It's never going to get a lot of weight. And besides, this D bottom is going to hold any weight. So I use a flat rims just to keep up with the nice flat thing I have going here. And I want to bend these over, but I don't need to bend a lot. I don't need to have a lot to bend. I'm going to bend this, mark these here. This one I bend over, this one I'll cut. So if I can go over, I do. If not, I cut. So I want everything this long. If I'm not cutting it off, I'm going to have it that long. There we are. There. Okay. Now bend this. Bend it firmly so that it's going to be the first thing the basket wants to do is go to here. Now, roll this piece. See that? Get it out of the way here. You're gonna roll that and poke it down. And I just pulled my piece out, but I'll get to it. Just work the place where you are. Roll this, poke it down. If you can't see, just wait a minute, I'll cut some off for you. You can see. I'll cut off the ones that are gonna be cut off. That'll help us. So this one's cut, and this one's gonna be cut, and that one popped up a little bit, but it is going to be cut. Okay, here we are. Put this back where it belongs. It popped out. Oh, it's being a little rough. Bend it down, bend it, make a nice bend out of it. What I do is I use my fingernails on this side to make that opening right there. Now, if you don't have fingernails, you can do this. You can use this to make an opening for it to go in. And if that isn't working for you, there's lots of choices. You can go in here, put that tool in and turn it, bend, and sneak it down in there. So all these things are available, different ways to do things. My children used to walk off with my tools, so I had to learn to work with the fingers that I had. You can use a popsicle stick. There's nothing wrong with popsicle sticks. Oh, there we are. Snip that last one. And it's time to rim a basket. Can't you just imagine your friend's name right there? So this is a rim, and I used some stiffer materials. I had some 1/2 inch that was stiff, so that makes really good rims, but not too bulky. And what I'm going to do with this is I need some pins to start with. I always start my rim, my inside rim, in the front of the basket. That way, this side is pretty and doesn't have any overlaps. So I put it in here, and I don't measure it to start with. I just lay it in there really snug, right close to the edge, covering that top row only. That's all I want to cover is the top row. Come around here, fit it right in there. Fit it nice and snug. Now, if you only had 5/8 and 1/4 inch, then I'd probably use a 5/8 rim up here. But I have lots of materials, so I chose to use this 1/2 inch rim. Now cut it here, and you always overlap your rims. Otherwise, if it's a bigger basket, they will bulge out and look egg-shaped. That's not attractive. Now flip it over to the back, and here's a piece of round reed. Really like my round reed. And the reason I have a 1/4 inch here and a 1/2 inch out here is because I want to neaten up that top. I've been doing this for probably 38 of my 40 years. So we're going to put that right on the top edge. Going to pin this. Come around, we got pins. Not too many pins, because you're just going to take them off. They're going to be in the way in a minute. So, there we go. Only covering that top row. That's all we want. Tight to the edge, pin. Make sure your overlap doesn't slip on you. Pin again. And you could have cut these to the distance around the basket and plus a couple inches. You could do that, but I'm just in the habit of using things as they come along. Cut this piece, the piece in between, the little filler, can't overlap. And there's just no room in there. So you've got to make those nice and tight, snug them up. Okay, now this one, I go to an upright and then I cut it at this angle. And I know when I come around with my lacer, I'm going to catch that end and cover it right up, or come close. I won't have a long thing out there snagging. And this is a piece of 1/4 flat, and this one is one of the materials I want to be really one of the best I can find. There's some lovely new 1/2 pounds of 1/4 flat that is of thin quality, great for lacing. So you want to get the rough side down every time, especially on your rim because you're going to drag this through and it's tough on it. So I'm going to take this little piece, and you don't have to anchor it too well on this one because nothing's ever going to pull it out. By anchor, I mean go inside, take that tool. Oops, well, let's go here, that thicker one. We're going to go inside, poke this straight down. I'm not going to have to lock this one in place because nothing's ever going to pull it out. Put that there. Now I know this could be 20 feet long, and I know if I go around here at least 1.5 times, I have enough to lace this basket. So I cut it there. Experiment. On this basket it's 1.5, many baskets it's 2. So our goal here is to go under that top row. We've worked this very precisely so that that top row, that rim is covering the top row only. So go through, pull it through, and pull. You want your lacing tight because that's what's holding this whole works together. And in the beginning, you don't want to pull it out, so you gotta be a little careful. But there we are. See, we're getting it tight as we can get it. Pull with your right hand, but just as importantly, push with that thumb. Make that go around. And sometimes, and with this one, because it has a weird little end, I go through twice. And if you turn your material, you gotta flip it over. Okay, we have that side started. If that opening doesn't want to open, see, I want to push this over just a bit. If that doesn't want to open, I get my tool and wiggle down here. There we go. And again, we had a wiggly part. Often you can just wiggle the reed. You don't need a tool. If you don't have to pick up a tool, you can save yourself some time. But if you need a tool, time is nothing. Just grab the tool. Take some of these pins off. I really don't need them all now. I only need to hold that one spot. And if my rim, be careful, your rim can pop up. So you just want to settle it back down over the top row. You know you have 2 rows up there and you should only see one of them. This one. Make sure, see here I've got a little, I didn't do as good a job. There we go. Wiggle that back in place. And again, you saw, this breed is so good that I often can't tell the top from the bottom, and I'm still not sure I got it right. That's okay. Around through your last opening. Yep, didn't have to use my tool, but I have to use my tool now, because this is my new favorite way to finish a basket. I take this tool, I make an opening, I go in here over the rim, right there, like that. Put this down. Here, pull, take my tool out, pull tight, 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 tight. Push this down because it opened up a little bit. Use my snips, I love these snips. Here, and we have a beautiful basket. This is between the doors basket. So it'll go between the front door and the storm door if you live in one of those climates that needs it. Otherwise, it just can go on the outside door. For my plant, there's a video where I put a plastic sandwich size bag down in the bag, a few rocks for drainage, packed it well with soil, soaked the plant ball really, really well, smashed it, put it in there, and put ties on it till it started growing the way I wished it to. So that is the Between the Door basket. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Please hit subscribe and the notification bell so that you see when we're up to something new. You never know what it'll be, but I assure you it'll be fun. And if you would like more instructions about this basket and others, follow me on Patreon. It's Baskets by Jen. It's the website, basketsbygin.com. Happy weaving.